Okay, now we're recording.
Was that your voice, Karen? Didn't sound like you.
It's not.
Recording.
It was, no.
Okay. For the record, can anyone state their name, please?
Dale Clayton, public member.
Peter Kaluzian, contractor.
Paul Farnsworth, contractor member.
Todd Johnston, public member.
Richard Hurlbert, Director Occupational Licensing.
Pamela Brown, Director of Investigations, DCP.
DCP, Janita Hamill, Supervising Special Investigator, Occupational and Professional Enforcement.
Okay. We'll review the minutes of this meeting, and when someone is ready to make a motion, feel free.
Mr. Chairman, I read the minutes just before our meeting and I move to approve them. Todd Johnston.
Second, Dale Clayton.
Is there any questions on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay, and any abstentions? You got that, Karen?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Any comments and concerns of anyone present today? I think we're all board members. ECP complaint status report. Well, I printed it out. I can't even read it.
I don't know if we can bring it up on the screen, Karen, but
Yeah.
Pamela Brown, Department of Consumer Protection Investigations, Janita Hamill will be reporting out the work on the report.
What's that, Janita?
No, I apologize. I was getting off of mute, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
The board report that you have right now goes from May 1st of 2021 to June 3rd. It should say June 30th, not June 31st of 2021, and July 1st, 2021 to August 31st, 2021. We had no complaints that came in or were closed during the May-June period. And in the July period, we had 2 complaints come in that are open and under investigation. And just a little note, when you get the PDF version from Karen, when you open it at the top to the right of the little hand, there's a minus and a plus sign. You can keep toggling on that plus sign and it will increase the font. That the problem is when you go to print it out, it is going to be minuscule because we're not in the office. I'm not doing like when we used to meet together, and I'm not printing out the spreadsheets and giving them to Karen ahead of time. But you could go to the toggling the plus sign.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and one quick other thing, a lot of the boards and commissions and councils have been inquiring about the report being made for each one of them, where it's a cumulative report that it keeps tallying what's open from before to what's open now. The IT group is working on it. And that's all we know. They're working on it.
Yes, I don't think we've gotten a request from this board yet.
I'm assuming that this board has a lot less complaints than all the other, than typically another board, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much again for all you do. One in the state.
You're quite welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a Jerry Perdula that just signed in?
Yes, he's one of the staff attorneys for DCP. I'm
Hello,
not sure
Jerry.
if he wants to
I
speak
just-
or not. Sometimes he may just be observing, but yes.
I just want to say hello to him.
Okay.
Known him for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, old business. Substitute House Bill 6100. I know some of the board members had, is that the bill, Karen, that they had some questions on? Or is that new?
There were questions on it last time with your board as well as the other boards. Yes, there were concerns. Yep, and that is in the minutes from June where you guys did have some concerns. You had asked Leslie O'Brien to attend, but I checked with Richard and he informed me that Leslie O'Brien in the legal division, they're addressing, they're aware of the concerns and they're addressing that.
So the contractors, I really wasn't aware of the language or up to date on that. So I know some of the contractors on the board and public members had some potential issues with that. So is that okay with the board members that their DCP is looking at their problems with that? I know Sean, there was something about a contractor canceling a contract within 3 days, the impact of that. Just anyone wants to speak on it, they can, but I'm not really caught up on that type of language or was aware of it. So, okay. So under old business, we're going to add something to the agenda. We had 3 of our board members review some applications, and Paul and Mr. Collusion went up and reviewed the applications, what was happening there. And I'm gonna make it plain and simple. You know, obviously I didn't take copies of the applications. It was a brief review, and the other 2 members really should speak on it. You know, not me all the time on it, but the bottom line is this. We found an R2 was granted on 2 individuals. And then within 6 months or so, they were granted to take their R1. The statute reads, you know, R2 for as a 2 years, qualify for an R1. So that is, we have never seen that in probably the 20 years that all of us, you know, board members and new board members probably have never seen an R2 did, and then they also did for an R1 within 6 months or 7 months. I may have my times off, but so that was alarming. And just, I'm not going to beat this up. I'm not going to do it. The bottom line is the documentation. I can't speak for the whole board, but I have a pretty good handle on it. I think the way you look at applications, and I think in each application process, we would ask for more information. So to me, and I want the other board members to chime in, it looked at them that we would have asked for more information on these 3 applicants, giving them an R1 after, you know, not the required 2 years as an R2, and giving them, you know, 6 months, approving them for an R1. I don't think that would have happened. I don't want to beat this up, you know, because other people are reviewing these applications. I called the commissioner and directly and said, listen, for help with 2, you know, as we spoke, people who are willing to take their time to review some applications, a very quick process. DOL and probably someone from department, and then if someone couldn't make it, you know, we had a 3rd option, right? Whoever said they would do that for the board. I forget their names, but and told her the importance of it. R2 that was given out, you know, what we always demanded was, according to statute and regs, uh, work, on the job work licensed contractor that the person applying for a bona fide apprenticeship program, their work duties with a notified letter from the contractor. 2016, we had a verbal agreement. There was some criteria. If they met that criteria, they would get approved automatically and anything else would come before us. That stopped happening in 2019. So basically what I'm saying is I talked to the commissioner and a couple board members to review these applications. The other two board members can comment on what was deficient, but for us, the board, the on-the-job training records and the R2 that was granted an R2, did he ever work for an R1? I don't think so. And then granted an R1. So let the other boards, I did talk to the commissioner and I said, I think for safety, I think like all the other boards are doing, have a couple of us in the room. Someone can't make it, we have a fill-in. He was responsive to it and said, okay, I'll see what I can do. I didn't get a definite on it. I also shared that with Richard Herbert. And Richard's, I understand he might be in a tough spot or whatever. I don't want to beat Richard Herbert. This is not about beating Richard Herbert up. So, I did ask if we can get us in the room like the other boards and just to keep everyone safe. So Paul or Pete, if you want to comment, you can.
Yeah, Peter Clusian. Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to just comment on the findings with the meeting with Richard, Paul Farnsworth, and reviewing the applications and just sticking to the review and based on the findings that in fact, individuals are being approved for R1 and R2 outside of regulation or not following regulation. So those are the findings. And I think that's what we're looking for an answer on.
Okay. Paul?
Mr. Chairman, Paul Farnsworth speaking. Thank you for inviting me to that June 28th meeting with Richard Hurlbert, Peter Klusgen, and yourself to review the applications. My comment is that vertical transportation in the form of elevators is one of the safest forms of transportation on the planet. However, elevators in Connecticut are less safe as a result of the current methodology of approving applications. Period.
Okay. Again, I don't want to beat this up. I did talk to the commissioner and I talked to Richard and I said, I think it would be very helpful, protecting everyone in the state like we've always done if we were a part of that process. And that's all I got. I don't know what else to say anymore. Okay. Any other comments? You can comment on it. If not, we'll go on.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and on just that last thing and then the one prior, I'm sorry I didn't speak up quick enough before you went to the second one. If the person gets awarded an R1 but did not fulfill the 2-year as an R2, can it be rescinded?
Well, there is powers by the boards and the commissioner because the language has changed in 2017 that you can revoke. There probably is a process where we could revoke a license. I don't know where that would go. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know what they were thinking when they did that. There's also language in the statute of equivalent experience. So it possibly could be done. I wasn't looking to, yes, it can be done. It can be be done. I think it'd be a tough road, but
I mean, Paul just mentioned, and that we're here for the safety of our citizens. And it's straight in the regulation. I don't understand how that could even happen. I don't know.
well, there is always something in the regulation, right? Let me see if I can grab something real quick. I mean, we always basically someone in the went through a full apprenticeship program. You know, they're getting trained. They're working directly by law under an R1 or an R2 to get that training, right? And so, I'm reading from statute now, and has requisite skill to perform work in the trade, right? For which an application is applying to. And then, obviously in the regulation, he has to be competent to perform all services included in the trade, right? But there is language in regs and statutes that also or equivalent experience, right? So there's a few that language is also in here. So it's complete a bona fide apprenticeship program or have equivalent experience. And then the other, I'm going to try to flip to it real quick. The holder of a license, this is a contract. A person must have served as 2 years as an R2 or have equivalent experience to qualify for an R1, right? So
I just emailed everybody the little section in the statute.
Right. So obviously, as a board, what we always did was, it's simple. In R2, if they meet the criteria, maybe we were a little strict on it, maybe a little too strict on it. I don't know the answer to that question. R2 for 2 years is in the statute or equivalent experience. But if someone has an R2, they would be applying for an R1 in equivalent experience to get that. So once they have the R2, it's kind of obvious reading the intent of the language. He needs it for 2 years, and he has to be working under an R1 by the law. And I guarantee you, if someone's granted an R2 and then 3 months later granted to take an R1 test, they're not working under an R1. They're looking for the R1. So I have never seen it in the history of this board, and never heard, even in the other board, someone would be granted an R2 and then all of a sudden an R1 4 months later. So I guess we can go down that road, but legally, I'm not an attorney, but we're used to reading the language. They're just going to come back and say we gave them to equivalent experience. In the on-the-job training documentation, what has someone worked on? It's easy for someone who went through an apprenticeship program in the state, right? So in 2016, we had our own agreement to protect against this, but so yes, I think there's language and I could review that and get back to you, Todd, on the board throwing a hearing or trying to revoke, right? The commissioner or the board. Don't know where to go. The bottom line is a couple of us should be in the room.
Yeah.
And I talked to the commissioner, she's very intelligent, in my opinion, very intelligent, obviously. And just said, listen, I think you might need some help here. The documentation on one candidate, I don't know if I should say his name on the record, but the on-the-job training, we would have asked for a little more. I'm not saying we would have rejected these people, but we would at least ask the right questions and got the right documentation to satisfy the board. So I'm skirting around your question. I think that we could do that, but there's language in there that I guess people could use.
Yeah, they could have a workaround, but
yeah,
it seems would it be wrong for the board to say, okay, can you show us the proof? This goes against the regulation, except unless they had equivalent experience. Can you show us how they could get 2 years experience within 6 months.
Yes, I mean, if the board members want to go down that road, I'm sure we can make a motion now to have those applications in front of the whole board and to inquire about it. And, but I think the bottom line is here's, I talked to the commissioner and Richard very nicely, I hope, and respectfully, and said, I think you should have a couple of us in a room like the other trades to prevent this. So I don't know how far the board wants to take this action. I just, like I said, I'm just giving you my thoughts. The other board members gave you thoughts. They've been around for a while. I think the only way to prevent this from happening is just simple. Have a couple of us in the room reviewing the applications with DOL and someone from DCP and get on with it. I don't know where that's going. I didn't get a direct answer from anyone. But
Mr. Chairman, Dale Clayton, was there any timeline given by the commissioner as to when the decision or answer would be provided to you? Or was it just, we'll look into it and it could be a month, it could be 6 months?
yeah, it'll take, it was a phone call with the commissioner, and the commissioner was very busy with, the department, I think, is very busy with this. I'm assuming this marijuana thing, right? All those regulations and stuff. And I'm sure they're overburdened with a lot of things right now, but I did not get a timeline.
Okay.
And it's simple. We're on a meeting now. You go on a meeting or in person and review the applications and, offer your comments and, hey, can you have a little more information sent to us? Just like how we always did that. So it's easy to do, but I did not get a definitive answer.
Okay, and because I recall when I first joined this board, we used to get the applications and review them and have input into whether, the licenses were working, unless I'm not remembering correctly, but I thought we used to get all that information.
Yeah, and I'll give you a little history. In 2016, there was a federal ruling against it. The teeth, I think it's North Carolina. I hope I'm not wrong. North Carolina Dental, right? So the dental board, and we don't have that power. We never had that power. So really, it didn't apply to us. But they went and shut down all the teeth whiteners. Now, remember, I'm off the top of my head now. I'm not stating fact directly, but I believe from what I understood, they went and shut all the teeth whiteners down. Said you need a license for that. I think they won in court. The board won in court, and then it went to the Supreme Court, and they said this could be violate antitrust and a few things. So when that decision came down, the other boards legislatively got together, not the other boards, some members of boards, and said, okay, we have to fix this. And the fix was you could have an attorney present in board meetings, right, to prevent something. So the board members wouldn't get sued. That would prevent that. And you would advise them against or for things they were doing. And basically what we did is other boards had a MOU. I would not engage in the MOU because of our unique trade and the safety concerns of the general public, and had a written agreement, and all you guys got it on the record. I think we handed it out. We put it on the record. And after that worked since like 2019, I think, and then they stopped giving us the applications. So basically anyone that served as a, let me read it. So basically, if you were an unlimited journeyman person's license, so an applicant who has a state of Connecticut apprenticeship completion letter and notarized statements from an unlimited contractor with dates and duties of employment, including not less than 4 years. This is what the board used to do with every applicant. And then a limited journey person, an applicant who has a state of Connecticut apprenticeship completion letter and notarized statements from a limited contractor. Basically, there are one saying they did this in the 4 years. Dates and duties of employment, including not less than 4 years. If anyone didn't meet that criteria, we were seeing the applications. And you are correct, Mr. Clayton. We were seeing the applications. When I addressed this with the commissioner, when we were not getting applications, they said, well, we're not too sure about that agreement. It was not a signed agreement. It was a written verbal agreement. So that's what happened there. And I'm not saying that they are lying or misleading us. That's what the response was. I'm just not going to call them, liars or whatever. Me and Paul Farnsworth were in the meeting with the commissioner that agreed to it, and he retired or moved on. So the new commissioner stepped in, and I think that's what happened there.
Right.
So on that note, now my agenda for work, I have no idea where it is now.
So Mr. Chairman, is there any more comment or discussion on whether or not we should look to take action and try to rescind those awarded R1 licenses due to, we never got the information showing how they could have 2 years experience within 6 months. I mean, that sort of then will force the commissioner to allow us to be there so this doesn't happen again in the future. If you understand what I'm getting at.
I do understand.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second, please? I'm not sure if you're seeing the chat from Jerry Padula. He should be able to speak. He's not being muted on my end, but he did send a chat. Mr. Chairman, you're correct. I'm not sure if you guys can see this chat or not. You're correct in your summary of the North Carolina Dental Board matter. Jerry, you should be able to speak. Can you hear us? You can hear us?
Fine again. Does it work now?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
all right, it's back. Yeah, my settings keep changing every time I go from Teams to Zoom to whichever. And it shut off my microphone.
Yep.
So I was playing with it and I got it back. So thank you.
How are you, Jerry?
Doing good, sir. Thank you so much. Hope all is well with you guys too.
So was there any other board comments?
No.
Are there any other comments, Jerry, on this topic?
No, I mean, I don't want to comment on whether the board should take action or not. I mean, that's a personal kind of decision among the board members, but if they wanted to pursue that, I'm sure that they would be able to, according to the statute. I don't know how licenses are granted without the prerequisite, experience requirement, because that's something that's been in the law for many, many years. But I don't want to comment and give them an opinion as to whether or not they should or should not go forward and try to revoke or rescind licenses that were granted. There is always an opportunity to do that for various reasons that are, in the statute. Common sense would say that if a person was granted a license that they shouldn't have gotten, that the board that issues the license should be able to do something about it. Even if it was made in error, there should be some type of way to correct that error.
Yes, and in the regs and statute, there is an avenue to do that.
I wouldn't mind having an elevator license myself. I don't know how I would use it, but if I was issued it by mistake, obviously you would have the opportunity to pull it back from me, because you wouldn't want me out there, doing work that was was a safety matter, obviously, transporting people. So.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to say about this, taking on that challenge. I know we're supposed to be for the general public. That's our goal, right? That's what we've always did. Do we want to research this a little bit more and then maybe get back together with some correspondence and things of that nature, Todd, or do you think it's that critical right now to hit it?
You can look at it a couple of ways. I mean, we certainly could wait the next 3 months. But within the 3 months, if we're not represented when they're reviewing this and approving licenses, like you had mentioned, having a couple of us on that committee, we could be running into this again. And Paul mentioned, his statement from earlier. We're all about safety, and you know what? It's simple. You follow the rules. That's all. Follow the rules. Everything's fine. They didn't, or they somehow figured out a way to convince the people who are giving out the license to say, yes, I got 2 years experience or within this 6 months. And now I'm going to be awarded an R1 and I'm going to be able to train R2s below me. This just doesn't seem right.
Do you have any information if the people involved had prior experience like with the military or with some other state or something? Or do you not have that information handy?
Well, listen, there's always experience that someone looked at, right? So DOL and DCP looked at some experience and they came up with the conclusion they met equivalent experience. So, I mean, I know that's where it's going to go. And listen, I'm kind of outspoken on this, listening to board members, but that's exactly what's going to happen. They said, we feel he had equivalent experience or any of the three candidates, and the documentation that we had, we granted him a license. And that's why board members present, at least two board members, doesn't have to, it should be the whole board, but they won't do that. 2 board members present will prevent this, or at least ask a question, or maybe a little more documentation. Maybe we would approve them, but we're not in the room, so we'll never know that. We'll never know that.
Mr. Chairman, does it make sense to request copies of all the documentation presented so we can do a more thorough review of that and then come to a conclusion whether we want to pursue taking action to revoke the licenses?
That would be, I think, a right way to go. I think that we can have a meeting and request. I did request Karen.
Yes, I'm here.
Certain individuals that we were concerned about. And I think that we can request to, as a whole board, to review those applications, I think, and not wait the 3 months. Depending upon our availability, all of us, right? That would be something, Todd, I think that would work, in Dale, if the other board members would like to make a motion that all of us review them, and that way we can put aside that time, because it might be a little time consuming, but we can be prepared for that, right? And review it a little closer. Dale, would that be okay if we want to go that route? I think that's great.
I'm sorry. I think that's a very good suggestion. I would just ask that when it comes time to do the review, I do it with someone like you or Paul together, if that's possible.
Oh,
yeah, like through a Zoom or whatever. We could just talk through it, or a conference call. I mean, I'm not the professional. I just want a good understanding, like you guys can convey to me, saying, yes, you know what, I agree, this person does have enough education or experience, and yes, the R1 should have been granted. Or have you guys tell me, you know what, you're right, Todd, I don't know how he got this license or she got this license.
Okay, so I think we can make a motion to review the applications in question. I don't know if you want to give a time frame on it as soon as possible. I cannot do that today. And then we can just have the meeting, Zoom, and every board member be present to go through it. I think everyone has to, right, Todd and Dale, right? Your input is very valuable also. And I think as a board, so we're going to request if someone wants to make a motion to review. Now you have the names because I believe we stated that for the record. Or Pete, do you have the names? I didn't take many notes, right? Because I felt funny kind of doing that there, but.
Mr. Chairman, if I hate
Yes.
to interrupt, I think if you were going to be gathering the board members together, as long as you have a quorum, then it would be considered a meeting.
Yeah.
So you'd have to put the date, out there as it being a meeting. So you'd probably have to pick a date that was convenient for the members that want to join in on that, so that you would have a quorum. And then it would be considered a special meeting, or, if it's one of the regularly scheduled meetings, then that's another issue, but it'd probably be a special meeting of the board, and you'd have to advertise it as such.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, want to make a motion to have a special meeting so that all the boards can review the applications, certain applications that have been approved, okay? And what I can do is we can get together, in the next today or the day and correspond with each other on dates, right? Instead of you guys trying to pick your dates right now. So in the next couple of days, we can pick those dates, and the applications for us to review are the ones that we requested to review in person. And I think it was Kenneth Leon, James M. Dolan, Donald L. Holloway.
But what's gonna happen is Karen's gonna have to tell you what dates are available for her to set up a Zoom meeting. When
Yeah.
she finds out what dates are available in a given morning, she can let all the board members know those dates, and maybe collectively you can figure out what date works for best for everybody. And then Karen can set up the Zoom meeting for this special elevator board meeting, and Karen can show on her screen the applications one by one.
Right. So it's but we're not going to be, sometimes I have trouble with computers in absorbing some information. I don't know whether I have a disability, right? Are we going to be able to print them and absorb them a little bit, or you just want them on the screen and that's it?
Well, just on the screen, we don't want to disseminate all their confidential information.
Yeah, that's why I was hesitant to write down any notes when I was in your office. I don't know whether I was being too cautious. I just didn't want to do that for some reason.
But Karen can show each one on the screen, and she could scroll through all the pages for that each individual until everybody's satisfied they've read everything.
Okay. So Karen, you're going to correspond, and then with a group email or something when you get a chance, and then we'll all
Right.
yes or no, and we'll get a meeting going.
Yeah, I need to look at the Zoom calendar. It gets very busy. The whole agency shares the Zoom account. So, I mean, I'm sure we can find something soon, but it kind of comes down to that, what's available on Zoom first, and then when you guys are available. So.
Yeah, and I'm in some very important meetings out of town next week, but if I have to, I'll do what I have to do. You know what I mean? If it's as early as next week, I might be, if I'm not in the air, I'll be fine.
Okay.
I'd rather not do that next week, but if I have to, I will.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Shoot.
The information in these applications, is it personal and confidential information that's contained in them? Or is this stuff of public record? Because it's going to be, I'll say, difficult at best to go through page by page of each application and review them on the screen. And, I'm like yourself, prefer hard copies where I can sit down and look at them and make notes on them. So, if they don't contain personal confidential information, I would request that the documentation be provided to each board member prior to the meeting, so we have an opportunity to review and absorb it. And, you know, but if you're telling me that there's personal confidential information in there, then obviously that's something that can't be done, or perhaps we can ask that the confidential and personal information be redacted from the documents and we review that, those items that aren't confidential.
Listen, my opinion is we're a board and we can, you know, the statute says commissioner or the board now, word or is in there and since 2016, but there's no reason why we can't have a hard copy and print it out and get on with it. There's no, we're a board looking at applications affecting the general public. So there should be no reason why. I was just.
Well, legal division could just double check that. Jerry could just double check that. And then Karen could send an email with the 3 application attachments to each board member.
You know what would really solve the issue if we met in person?
Well, that's not going to happen. We barely can get in the office now. So, and we got new forms to fill out to even go in the office, and we need copies of all your cards and everything else and who your firstborn is. So it's not easy.
It's funny. I need a lawnmower part and I'm hearing that garbage from them too. I can't get my.
There's supply chain issues everywhere. It's horrible.
Oh, you guys
Yeah.
doing great though. And safe in your department.
The legal division can double check the dissemination of the applications to the board members, and we'll do such.
Can the legal division also check if it's okay to share those applications on the screen during a recorded meeting, that the recording gets put out on the website?
Oh,
Is that okay to do?
I don't think that's good.
Right. So legal division.
Yeah, we could, I think we'll have to check. Yeah. I don't know if you've looked at applications at meetings just in the past year since everything's been remote or not. Have you had a
Not in
chance to
this
do that?
format with a
No.
recorded regular meeting. That's what concerns me more than the email of them, is because these, if it's a public meeting, the recording has to be offered to the public, and that's their, you know. So
Well,
that,
then we might have, like I said, we might have to just email the board members the 3 PDFs for the 3 applicants,
Right.
if that's what the total is. And then the board members will have that in front of them and can just discuss. And not do a screen share.
can you let me know, Jerry, or let us know which way?
Yeah,
get the
I could probably check that out for you.
Okay.
If the board members in the past had looked at applications and discussed them at a public meeting, maybe not in the last year with the pandemic, but if they did it with paper copies when everyone was in the office,
Yeah.
and the public could be invited to those meetings by law, I guess the only thing that they wouldn't want to talk about is probably like people's social security numbers and stuff like that, but that's not really relevant to the
But
application.
even on the regular meetings where we held the meeting in the office, we didn't give all the public members sitting there a copy of the application. They were only shared by the board members. So that's all we're doing here.
Gotcha. Yeah. As far as sharing the actual applications, yeah, you wouldn't want to have all that information on the screen, especially if it did have personal identifying, private information like a social security number, some driver's license numbers, but none of that's relevant to the board's determination. So that all should be redacted. So no one gets that information. In their hands.
We're not going to share it on the screen. I think that's probably a given.
That's
We'll just make
probably
sure
smart.
every board member gets a copy by email. And then they'll have it a few days in advance to go over them themselves. In addition to holding the actual special meeting.
Yeah, even with the emailing, if the social security numbers and things like that could get whited out or covered over temporarily, then that would probably make a big difference too, because you still
We
don't
did
want that.
Yeah, that we automatically.
The
Yeah,
social
because you don't want that
security
getting
whited
out.
But I'm not sure if there's other things that should be weighted out. And that, again, I would need to know from the legal division if there are other things besides the social.
Maybe you
Okay.
can send them to Jerry Padula, Karen, and he can redact what he thinks isn't appropriate.
All right.
Yeah, we could
Then
figure that out.
Then they could be sent to the board members.
Okay.
That makes it safer for everyone.
Aren't you glad you joined this meeting, Jerry?
Yeah, I am,
I'm
but
glad he did.
I was supposed to have a hearing I was supposed to be in the office for a hearing and it was made a remote meeting. And then it was postponed due to some technical snafu with the attorneys that were handling the case. So I shouldn't be here. I should be in a hearing, but I said, let me tune into this meeting. So here I am.
Gary, you've been around DCP for a long time, right?
I started in January 21st, 2005.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time is flying.
I haven't dealt with the boards in a while, but I'm actually just supposed to be helping drafting the board decisions. But like I said, I get invited to most of the board's meetings now.
Yeah.
So if I can get on one or two, I will. Otherwise, if there's decisions being made, I have to look at the recordings, you know, so thankfully the Teams or the Zoom meetings are recorded, so I could look at them, and I could also look at the notes afterwards or the minutes to figure out what decisions were made, so then I could write, you know, the decisions on behalf of the board to help them out, because the AG stopped writing board decisions. I think it was November of 2019. So once the pandemic hit, I was asked to take the place of the Attorney General and help the board chairman by helping them write the decisions.
Yeah, because the AG office was always our attorney.
Yeah, yeah. And they kind of backed away from that role that they had since 1959 and handed it back to us to kind of say, oh, well, you guys can help the boards draft a decision. So it's my job. So I do have a bunch to do for various boards, you know, because they have meetings all the time about different matters, and you know, but I have other stuff to do also, because I do a lot of other stuff for the department besides the board stuff. This is like the third thing that I've been doing. So
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, you can thank Todd and Dale for this, by the way.
Mr. Chairman, I
okay.
gotta jump off, if that's all right. I know you still have a quorum, so you should be okay.
I think we're probably done anyway, aren't we?
Yeah, I was just,
There's one thing, the first thing you brought up in old business. I can't remember what my comments were gonna be on it at this time, so I'll just wait and read the minutes and bring it up in the next meeting, okay?
well, it was substitute bill 610, Public Act 21. It was at that old business. Licensing enforcement, antitrust issues, and palliative use of marijuana. Is that what we're dealing with, Karen?
I think that's what he's referring to.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay, you can bring it up at the next
On
meeting.
that.
That's fine.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you, sir.
All right, so,
I'm sorry, did you complete the motion and have everybody vote on it or no?
so we need a motion to have a special meeting, and the agenda, time will be set, when we get, Zoom meeting, time from Karen.
Right.
Get a motion to have a special meeting.
So, yeah. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to have a special meeting once we know the Zoom scheduling to review the R1 contracts that were awarded. And I guess that's good enough.
May I interrupt you? It was, I think, 3 specific applications. Kenneth Leon, James Dolan, and Donald Holloway. So just a part of your motion, so they know.
Okay, so along with that amendment, I'd like to make the motion.
Got a second? Is everyone gone? Is there a second?
Second, Peter Clusian.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 All against, say nay. Any abstentions? None? Okay, Karen, you got that?
All right, yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much, and stay well. And nice seeing you again, Chair. See you.
Thank you. Yes.
Bye.
Nice to see you, Jerry.
have a great day, guys.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.